Thousands of people who cannot naturally conceive children choose adoption instead.
But now there's a new option allowing women to carry an embryo to full term if she's unable to conceive on her own. It's called embryo adoption.
News 13's Kimberly King spoke to a local family who's sharing their story for the very first time. Kim?
Darcel, more than 10 years ago, the family of the Farmers heard about embryo adoption. They told me at first they dismissed it, but then as they began to research it, they went for it. And the outcome, they say, has been a blessing in their lives.
I think he's just a wonderful, bright, beautiful child.
Mesopotamia?
Joseph Farmer is a happy, healthy little boy, sharing time with his mom, Vanessa, building Legos.
Joseph Carroll Farmer. I am 10 years old and born in 2004.
While Vanessa carried him 9 months to term, Joseph came to be from what appears under this microscope, his parents adopting him as an embryo.
I don't really think it's any different because either way you're a baby, either way you're a kid.
A friend of mine gave me an article in a magazine.
It's how Vanessa first learned about the Snowflake's embryo adoption program. She and her husband Joel had already adopted a child the traditional way, but wanted more.
I knew the cost of in vitro, and I knew we could not afford that. So I checked into it, and it was a third of the cost.
At the time, the total fees to adopt the embryo amounted to $8,000. The Snowflakes program does what's called open adoption, so families know who each other are.
We got matched with 2 families. So we had 2 sets of embryos.
As a toddler, Joseph met his genetic parents who have twins from an embryo they themselves used.
We're friends on Facebook, so he sees them, sees what his genetic siblings are doing.
The Farmers are a busy family of 9. Their 6 other children they adopted through traditional means. Many families choose not to tell their families or children, but Joseph is fully aware of how he came to be.
We wouldn't have him if we didn't know about it, and if people didn't talk about it, I wouldn't have known about it. So I'm very grateful that people have shared their stories, and I hope that if there's somebody out there that this fits for them, that they will be encouraged and excited to give it a shot.
The Farmers did an open embryo adoption, but many clinics offer closed adoption programs where recipients will get an embryo but never meet the donors.
Women have the opportunity to look at different profiles which would tell basically the history of those embryos, but yet still keeping them anonymous.
Dr. John Payne is a reproductive endocrinologist in Greenville.
So this is our IVF lab.
His clinic, called PREG, does closed embryo adoptions.
We've had other patients that have gone through the IVF process, have had their goals achieved of having a child or children, and then they have some extra embryos that are still cryopreserved.
Surprisingly, he says the majority of his patients choose to donate.
I would say probably 60 or 70% rather than to donate to science or to throw and discard them. The embryo adoption is really like adopting, but you get to carry the pregnancy and control the environment.
Linda Thomason is the clinic's embryo adoption coordinator.
It's something you have to be comfortable with, you know, your child being raised by somebody else. And, you know, it's just a matter of whether you're comfortable with that.
The Farmers have never wavered on their choice.
If I could do it again tomorrow, I mean, I would.
One cute little baby. That's one way to get one.
Embryo adoption can be much more affordable than traditional adoption that can run up to $30,000. Many embryos, it's important to note, are created using donor egg and often donor sperm. The clinic has a waiting list and say they complete about 1 embryo adoption a month. Kimberly King, News 13.